The following program is rated S for satire. We are not professionals, nor are we clinically depressed. We do, however, suffer from long bouts of indecision and stagnation. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome back to episode 4 of Take That Depression. I'm Kyler, and that's Spencer.
Hello.
Before we get started, Spencer, how was your week this week?
My week hasn't actually been too bad. Worked by 4-day rotation and ready for 4 days off. Kicked it off by a nice, I would say 10 hours sleep.
Good.
But other than that, it's been good. What about you?
Good. Yeah, work was good for me too. I had a couple challenging things and many not so challenging things, so that was a good work week. I had baby sprinkle for baby number 2. That was fun to get kind of showered in love with all the family, and you and your fiance were there, so that was nice.
Thank you for inviting us.
And also, not to sound like a broken record, but when I was doing research for our main topic this week, I found another set of information that was very, very exciting that, again, makes me so happy to be a part of this podcast and get to research like we do.
That's one thing I've been really enjoying, too, is that anytime I research a topic, I'm finding more and more information about it that's like, wait a minute, what is exactly this? And then you start looking, you're like, oh my god, that's pretty rad.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun thing that we get to do. Also, it is October 2nd when we're recording this. The eve of Taylor Swift Day, some might say. So we're recording a little bit earlier, so I can get home and listen to the new album with the wife. So hopefully you guys all are excited to listen to that too. It's also, that means October, so you and I both decided that we wanted to do a couple of spooky movie recommendations.
Spooky season.
Spooky season. You and I both love Halloween, love October, love the vibe. So for October, we're going to do a couple of movies each episode that we recommend that really spooked us. My recommendation is going to be Grave Encounters.
So good.
Yes, it's one of those movies that it seems just like a normal movie for most of it, and then everything goes off the rails towards the end, and it's very much not a normal movie. I would highly, highly recommend it. It's about a crew of ghost hunters, so it's kind of filmed in that way that you would see like a TV ghost hunting show, and then they go to a abandoned psychiatric hospital, and it all kind of devolves from there. What recommendation do you have for us this week, Spencer?
My recommendation this week is The Taking of Deborah Logan.
Good, so good. I know it was so good.
I'm what you might call a degen for found footage, so you might see a common theme with my suggestions there. Maybe I'll branch out a little bit, but probably not if I'm being realistic. I'm going to go ahead and not spoil anything. I'm going to let you just be the judge, and I'm going to let you dive in blind. You get nothing.
Fair enough. I highly recommend The Taking of Deborah Logan. If I can get my wife to watch that this spooky season, that's my one goal this spooky season. She's not really big into horror movies, but that one is definitely a must-see.
I used to never be. When I was a little kid, up until probably my early 20s, everything scared me. You would not catch me watching a spooky movie, but nowadays, the spookier the better. And if I can get my fiance to watch it with me, bonus points for that.
I'm definitely a spooky kind of person. We both work night shift, so I will, all the lights off in my home, I'm the only one awake, be watching all these spooky movies, and my wife doesn't understand how I do it, because then when the boy is crying in the middle of the night and I have to go upstairs, she said she cannot handle that. If she just watched a spooky movie, the boy has got no help for the rest of the night.
Good luck, don't get murdered.
So yeah, I really enjoy them. So yeah, definitely be looking forward to that for the next couple episodes. Now an overview of what's coming the rest of the episode. My main topic this week, I'm going to be covering the region beta paradox. Then after that, it'll be skill check. And then after that, we will wrap up and say have a good day. Now first, before we get into the region beta paradox, Spencer, I have a couple of questions.
Ask away.
Pertaining to the region beta paradox. How long would it take you to go to the hospital if you were horsing around outside and you dislocated your shoulder?
Probably a lot longer than it should.
But you would get there.
I would get there, yeah.
Then, how long would it take you to go to the hospital if you were horsing around outside and you pulled a muscle in your shoulder and it just kind of ached when it gets cold out, or...
Probably less, I would say.
Yeah, almost. You probably would just deal with it.
Yeah.
I would just deal with it if I just had a little bit of nagging
It's
shoulder pain.
fine.
Yeah, it's fine. And that is the region beta paradox, where we will suffer through not so bad situations, being the little strain in your shoulder that it's okay as long as it stays warm out or it's not about to rain. I don't really need to go get that checked out.
That describes like everything. Like, I'll suffer through some situations where, again, like you just said, it's not, I mean, it could be worse, so I guess I'll just, thug it out a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the region beta paradox to a T. It's your work. If the job that you're working right now, the pay sucks, but the work is easy enough, I don't know if it would be more beneficial for me to swap to a different job. The work's easy here. It pays the bills. I don't really need to get any more money. Or if the benefits are pretty good, but your boss really rubs you the wrong way. Mm-hmm. These are both also examples of the region beta paradox, where it's just not really bad enough for you to want to make that change. The region beta paradox was based on a paper called The Peculiar Longevity of Things Not So Bad, headed off by Daniel T. Gilbert, where he goes into many things that are like what we're talking about. The main point that he brings up is if your work is 1 mile away and you think that that's fine enough to walk through, the normal human walks at about a 3 mile an hour pace. So it would take you 20 minutes to get to work. But anything outside of a mile, let's say your groceries is 2 miles away, and that you're like, that's too far to walk. So I'm going to ride a bike, and that's a 15 mile an hour pace. So you get to the grocery store, that's 2 miles away, faster than you would get to work, because that's within your walking distance. If you were just comfortable with being uncomfortable enough to take your bike out every day to go to work, you'd get to work that much faster. And that's the crux of the region beta paradox. This is also really big in relationships. If you argue often, but you definitely need a second income in this economy, so you just kind of stay with a partner that you're unhappy with, this is huge for that. Particularly for me, my first wife, I was kind of in that state of, we were making really, really good money. We had a big house. I was kind of doing all the things that you'd think you should be doing as an adult that's married. But when I was home, my home time just wasn't exactly happy. So I just kind of existed in the space. I was going through the motions of everyday life, as opposed to seeing that, realizing that, and then making the change. Luckily, she at some point forced my hand and did something that was so bad. And that's also the other portion of the region beta paradox, is the pain to change must be less than the pain to stay. So if it sucks a little bit, you can just kind of hang out and it's fine, because that change is scary. Making that change to doing the thing, breaking out, finding another apartment is terrifying, so you're okay with just kind of being unhappy. However, the region beta paradox works the other way as well, in kind of keeping us in our lane in things that don't suck so bad, and they aren't actually that bad, so you don't blow up your life at the sight of the slightest uncomfort. You're just like, ooh, that kind of sucked, now I need to quit my job and find a new house to live and blah blah blah, when you had a uncomfortable interaction with a coworker one time. That's also what the region beta paradox prevents.
It's cool that it has kind of that balance, the two sides of the coin type deal.
Yeah. This also goes into saying, I'm sure we're all familiar with, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. That's kind of not based on this, but that gives the same vibe.
What a fun saying.
Yeah, I really enjoy that saying. An exercise that I found out, this is, I was talking about at the beginning of the episode, sounding like a broken record, where I start delving into the main topic and then I find other arms that I'm super excited to learn about. I found, while I was researching the region beta paradox, I found out about fear setting, which is an exercise that you can do in the moments when you feel like you're stuck in the region beta paradox and you don't know if it's worth the change. And it helps you make that change should it be necessary. It's a kind of an empirical way to look at the situation and deem whether or not it's worthy to change. So the first thing you do with fear setting is you look at your situation, you figure out exactly what it is, if it's a job, if it's a relationship, if it's whatever, and you define your fears. You define the worst case scenario outcomes for whatever you're changing. I'm going to have an example. I'm going to go through all the steps with you, and the example for me is going to be my previous relationship. So my worst case scenario is we were making really, really good money. So the first worst case scenario is I wouldn't be able to subsist anymore. I wouldn't be able to live on my own income alone. That's my first defined fear. My second would be I would have no house. I couldn't afford that house on my own. I would be homeless, would be my worst case scenario to come out of that. And my third defined fear would be that I'd be alone. You get comfortable in a relationship, you come home to that person every day, you strike up a conversation. To just abandon that is scary enough in many cases. So with those fears clearly defined, the next step that you can do is you can look at what you can do to prevent those things from happening. You've defined your worst case. Now you can look at preventative steps you can take. So for me, both with not making as much money anymore and being homeless, a solution that I could do, I could move back home with my parents in the interim. They probably won't charge me all that much money, if any, for rent, which solves money, and also I have a roof over my head, which solves homelessness. Then, being alone and not having that person to contact, if I had to move states away, so I would have had to move states home, I can stay in contact with the friends I had made where I was through social media and keep those going, so I'm not just alone. Then the third step for fear setting is, if those preventative measures fail, it's what you can do to repair the situation should the absolute worst case scenario happen. So these are steps. I moved out. I am no longer making enough money to feed myself, and my parents' home is too small, they don't let me live with them or whatever. I can either get a second job or I can work overtime to make that extra money, fill in the gaps where I need to. I could find a cheap apartment, kind of as low as cheap as I can find in my area, to just kind of get me by, get a roof over my head so I'm not homeless. And I could go out to a bar or any kind of event and strike up a conversation and make new friends if I can't get in contact with my old friends from where I was. So those are all things you can do, again, to repair. And that's to put those worst case scenarios kind of at ease in your mind, so you can see that that is not the end. If you become homeless because of this scenario, you have a clear plan in place to correct that. Then the fourth step is to consider the benefits of making this change. This step and the next step are probably the two biggest steps for fear setting. Consider the benefits of making that change. weighed against all the things you just said, how scary it is, whatever. In this instance, my benefits would be overall happiness. I would be a happier person if I had made this change and moved out, found myself again, took back the things I gave up to be in that relationship. I would just be an overall happier person. I would also get to build a home instead of just a house. This is huge. I felt stuck and I was just going through the motions every day. So moving forward, I would get to put down roots somewhere where I was happy and I was excited to come home every day and make it a home instead of just living in a house. And with my previous relationship, we were not into the idea of having kids at that time. Now, with my son and my second kid on the way, I can see what an error that was. So this one's kind of hindsight being 2020, but another benefit of leaving that relationship now that I know is being able to grow my family. So that's the fourth step. The fifth step of fear setting, the final step of fear setting, is analyzing the cost of inaction. Writing down exactly what you are putting up with if you choose to stay in your situation. So for me, it's kind of the opposite of the benefits. I would have reduced overall happiness. I didn't have a lot of time for video games. I'm a gamer, so that was just a thing that I knew that I would have to give up to stay in that relationship, is playing games as much as I would like. The next one is stagnating, just existing to exist, making money to pay bills, and going through life like a robot. That was another cost of inaction. And then again, back to the opposite of the benefits, and hindsight being 2020, I would not have my kids, and that after having them has been an eye-opening experience. So that would be a huge thing that I would be missing out on had I chosen to stay. But that's all it is. That's fear setting. Those 5 steps. And you can look at that list when you're all done, when you've made up your pros and cons, your benefits and costs. You can look at that, look back at your worst case scenarios, and really see, based on your cost of inaction and the benefits that you would get, whether or not you should look at making this change. And that was a really, really cool thing. I'm definitely going to start applying this in my normal everyday life. I feel like I'm stuck in so many different region beta paradoxes, and I can't wait to start looking at this in a different light. And I didn't really know about this beforehand, so I'm really happy to get to share this with all of you, and hopefully you guys can do some more research and figure out how this fits into your life, because it's a really eye-opening paradox and theory that you can look into.
It is really cool to see. I've felt examples of those before. I think everybody has in their everyday life, but to find out that there's like a name behind it and like a theory behind it, and then seeing like or hearing about fear setting, you can apply that to just about any aspect of your life in any given daily situation. I'm definitely going to start using it for mine. Big or small problem, it doesn't really matter. It applies to just about anything.
Yeah, and that's the region beta can apply to a wider like life-changing decision. To do I get coffee every day? I get coffee because it makes me feel happy. Is that worth all the costs of the late that it makes you for work, or the later that it makes you for work? Like, there's so many things that this can apply to, and it's just very, very cool to bring this to the masses. And it's interesting, this is a thing that we just do inherently.
Just everyday experiences.
Yeah, you have been doing the region beta paradox your whole life, whether you have realized it or not, whether you knew about it or not. And now putting a face to this thing, this concept, you will start seeing it more and more in your everyday, where you're just like, oh, I kind of want to do this, but that requires all this extra work. It's not really worth that. Boom, another one. It's just so fun when you get to put a name to the things that you've been experiencing in life, your whole life.
I did not know that about myself.
So yeah, I, again, thought it was a very, very cool, interesting topic, and I definitely wanted to hit on that before we got too far into the podcast, because this is a really cool way it folds in with learning, in that you can really learn about yourself, get yourself in a good situation, set yourself up for success using this. So I'm super, super happy for this episode to come out and to hear what everybody's got to say about it.
Yeah, I'm very excited to look more into it. Thank you so much for covering this topic, because it's definitely been an eye-opener for me, and I'm sure other listeners will feel the same way.
Yeah. In the description, I have 2 videos. I pulled some information from both of them. I have 2 videos that kind of explain it in different ways, and they're both very, very, very educational and explain it probably way better than I did. Those are in the description, and I highly recommend you give them a watch if you're at all interested in the Region Beta Paradox. With all of that said, I guess it's time to move on to everybody's favorite segment, Skill Check. I will take the reins on this one again. My skill check this week is not so much a skill check, but it does again fold into kind of what we're doing here. And for you, if you're learning about a creative hobby, if you're trying to get into something like that, this is very influential. It was very big for Spencer and I, again, when we started doing the podcast. It was something that I listened to, and then I told Spencer about, and this kind of gave us in my head, it gave me the final push to just do the dang thing. It is Ira Glass's The Gap. It's a short. I'm going to link a video to it, or he describes it. I'm going to read it in full. It's short, but I'll read it in full for you right now. And again, it was very motivational for me and Spencer, and I would attribute a bunch of this podcast coming out when it did to this particular passage that this guy had said. Nobody tells this to people who are beginners. I wish someone had told me. All of us who do creative work, we get into it because we have good taste. But there's this gap. For the first couple of years, you make stuff. It's just not that good. It's trying to be good. It has potential, but it's not. But your taste, the thing that got you into the game, is still killer. And your taste is why your work disappoints you. A lot of people never get past this phase. They quit. Most people I know who do interesting creative work went through years of this. We know our work doesn't have the special thing we want it to have. We all go through this. And if you're just starting out, or you are still in this phase, you gotta know it's normal. And the most important thing you can do is do a lot of work. Put yourself on a deadline so that every week you will finish one story. It is only by going through a volume of work that you will close that gap, and your work will be as good as your ambitions. And I took longer to figure out how to do this than anyone I've ever met. It's going to take a while. It's normal to take a while. You've just got to fight your way through. That was huge for me because, like we've said time and time again, the 1% adage that we've got going on here, I am very ambitious. I want this to be something that's very, very good. And every episode I put out, although I think it's great, although I love the content, it does disappoint me. And it's a very real conversation to have with yourself, especially if you're doing creative things where you're just not quite there yet, that you have to do it. In many, many, many cases, you are just not going to be naturally good at everything that you set out to do. You have to go through that volume of work. And that's, again, why I thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart for listening now, when I'm still trying to close that gap, when Spencer and I are still trying to close that gap. It means the world to me. I'm sure it means the world to Spencer.
Absolutely.
It's just, something that we have to do, and we can't do it by not doing it. So here we are doing it. And I, again, highly recommend you go watch the video. He says it in a way that I just can't recreate. I love it. And if you're doing anything creative, live by this. Do a lot of work. Do a big volume of work. Put yourself on a deadline so you can't just push it off and not get it done. It is a game changer. And I love this passage so much.
I wish I had this when I was younger. I feel like I would have dove more into all the skills and things I wanted to do. We always talk about we're our own worst critics.
Yeah.
And, you know, like we've talked about, I want to draw and you like to draw and stuff like that. And then we do our little thing and then we're like, thanks, I hate it.
Yeah.
And it kind of discourages me from like wanting to keep at it. But with
Yeah.
gap theory, it's like, hey, keep with it. It will get better.
Yeah, a lot of people never get past this phase, they quit. I have done that so many times before I found this. And yeah, I wish I had found this so much sooner so I could just push through it. You gotta fight it. If you want it, you gotta fight your way through. And that's what we're doing right now. Spencer?
Skill check.
Spencer skill check.
So my skill check this week, I will be straight up honest with you, is very short, very sweet. It applies to me and things that I want to get better with, i.e. computer literacy. So my skill check this week is typing and typing skills. Everybody knows how to use a computer. Everybody knows how to search something up on Google. But not everybody, myself included, knows how to do it correctly. I remember being in computer class in, say, like 4th grade. And they're like, all right, we're going to use home row. We're going to do all that. And I straight up said, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't own a computer. Computers aren't going to be a thing. And boy, what a fool I was.
I had, when I was in computer class, they had these little tents that they would cover your hands with so you couldn't see. If they saw you looking down at your keyboard, they'd pull out a little tent and they'd put your hands in the tent of shame so you couldn't see so you couldn't see your fingers. And they had to do that so much for me. And like, for being quote unquote, you can't see my fingers, I'm doing the quote thing, for being the computer guy for us, for me not even be able to do like home row stuff is kind of disappointing. So I'm super stoked that you're doing this and I can't wait to hear what you've got for us.
Are you not a home rower?
I'm not a home rower.
That blows my mind.
I'm like a modified pecker. I use all of my fingers, but I still just kind of like beep boop beep 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 beep.
That's how I would categorize myself too, is I've gotten really good at pecking,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still like I can't type without looking at my keyboard, and that's a huge problem for me. That's why I need home row with everything from researching to typing up things we need for the podcast to potential streams. I don't want to be streaming and then someone in the stream says something and then 15 minutes later I type up, hey, shut up. Something like that.
I had a typing test to get a job one time. And it was like a little passage that you had to type and not make any mistakes, whatever. And I went there the first time. I took it and I failed. And it was like, the goal was so low. It was like 30 words a minute or whatever. It was so low. But I failed the typing test. But I memorized the link that we had to go to take the test. And they said I could come back and take it in a week. So I went home and I just typed that passage over and over and over and over again, so I could pass just that test to get the job. I could not actually type as fast as that made it look like I could, but that was a silly little thing I did to get a job one time.
That's actually very fun. Do you know your typing speed or WPM, words per minute?
I don't know it at all. Again, that one was 30 and I failed it, so it's got to be less than that.
With my pecking abilities, right before this podcast recorded, I actually went to typingtest.com. Highly recommend all of you, if you're interested in typing at all, to check it out and just see where you land on that. It's free, easy, and quick. I typed with my chicken scratch, chicken peck, 34 words about per minute.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that was with pecking. If the requirement was home row, I am convinced the bar would be much, much lower. So I'm curious to see, with just pecking, 34 words per minute is what I got. Definitely some typing errors as well. I'm curious to take that again after maybe a month or so of practicing, and I would love to practice that at least every day, once a day or something. I'm pretty blessed to work in a job to where I have to do some typing and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And normally I would say the best time to learn typing was 20 years ago, the next best time today, but that's actually the second best time. The best time to practice your typing is while you're at work getting paid to do so.
Yeah, that's very fair. I will definitely take this test, and I will, for all the world to see, I will put it up on our Facebook page when this episode goes live for what I got for words per minute on this typing test.
I'm very excited to see that. So on average, there's a few skewed statistics, but on average I found that 40 words per minute is generally what is considered average. Above average would be 50 to 60 words per minute. Administrative professionals are about 60 to 70 words. Advanced typists are 80 plus words per minute, which just seems crazy to me. And even crazier than that, transcriptionists and stenographers are 100 plus words per minute, and that is, I can't even imagine that. That's absolutely bonkers to me.
Yeah, they're the steno machines that like court transcribers.
Steno, that's the word.
That court transcribers have are just, they don't mean anything to me. One of my college professors was a stenographer, and she said that the class to become a stenographer and to like learn the steno machine was so hard, and the test to like be a licensed one for court transcribing or whatever was even harder than the class. It's learning a whole new, you push 2 keys to make sounds instead of letters to make words, and it's just crazy.
I had no idea what a stenograph machine was, and I didn't realize that in like courtrooms they don't even like use computers. I thought it was just like the movies, old school typewriters, and that is not the case. This machine is absolutely bonkers. Like you said, it's you type in 1 or 2 keys and it says a paragraph. It's literally coding.
Yeah.
And I was blown away.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw that, I got the information I need, and I'm like, nope, that's out of my reach.
Too deep. Maybe for a main topic,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Cross that bridge when we come to it. I got a little fun statistics here, if you're interested in hearing them.
Always, I'm a big statistics guy.
I'm a statistics man now. Again, these are in general. I don't think they're pinpoint accuracy. They're the most common between all the ones I've seen. Average typing speed for industries. Legal is 60.60. Art, entertainment, and recreational, 56.70. Educational, 56.30. Health and medical, 55.90. Scientific, 55.90. And again, these are words per minute. Technology, 55.50. Government and public admins, 55.10. Marketing and advertisement, also 55.10. Telecommunications, 52 words per minute. Wholesale and retail, 51.70. Transport, 51.20, which seems weird to me that it's that high up on the list.
Yeah, for real.
Financial and insurance, 49%. You think that definitely would have been above transportation, but not my statistics, not my problem. That's what I always say. Hotel, food, and hospitality, 48. And ya boy, manufacturing, 46.30.
That makes sense. That one does.
Yeah, that checks out. It's funny because in my profession, at the bottom of the list, I am below that. There was another statistic that I seen, which I thought was really interesting. I kept it out because I couldn't find anything to prove it. It almost seemed more opinion-based. Just didn't want to go into it. But it was the statistic was that girls are actually better typers than men. It broke it down between baby boomers, Gen X, and millennials, and all of those, the females were better typers. And I brought that up to Natalie when we went to go get coffee today, and I was like, hey, did you know the statistic that women are better typers than men? And she's like, well, that math tracks. Men are dumb.
That's all the proof you need, I guess.
Yeah. Proof is in the pudding. So I'm looking at a few different websites here that I looked into to like actually start learning how to type. The first one that I'm going to go to that seems to be the beginning level is typing.com. It's going to be my first stop for learning. Some benefits they have is classroom style lessons. So you just kind of take the course one by one, and then it gives you a grade. It covers all the basics. One thing I thought was interesting with it is it's allegedly aligned with the federal and state standards.
Interesting.
It's free to use, but it does have ads, unfortunately, and you can pay a little extra something to get ad-free. After I complete that, the next one that's a little more intermediate that I found is the Typing Club, and that one does feel to be a little more advanced. They have 9 levels of skills that you go through and over 600 lessons.
Wow.
So each skill level, it kind of breaks down, and then when you complete that, you jump to the next one, complete all those, and just kind of keep going into that until you finish. I believe there's also kind of a grading system on how you're doing in your performance, which is always fun for me.
Yeah.
That'll keep me interested more to see like my improvements.
Mm-hmm.
That one's free and easy to use, and you can pay for some stuff for different lessons, like such as spelling and vocabulary, which might not also be a bad idea. You could always use more of that. Yeah. I could always use more of that. Some other ways to help you learn how to type and to help me learn how to type: typing games. I remember a computer class back in the early 2000s, your basic whatever you type and your guy moves. They have evolved.
Yeah?
It's crazy, some of these games. 3 recommendations I'm going to give you right off the bat, because you and I both gamers.
Yeah.
One is called The Chef's Shift, which is a cute little restaurant style. You type, you deliver the food and drinks to the table, and it just kind of seems like a cozy, casual typing game, which I thought was kind of fun. I like me some cozy games.
Yep.
The second one is a very fast-paced platformer. It's called Star Rune, and it's, in replace of like pressing A to hack and slash, you're typing the words and the sentences out super fast.
Oh,
and the faster you type them, the faster you cut people down with swords, and
that's crazy.
It gets pretty crazy. I'm actually really interested in that one. And then the third one, which is a genre I never thought I would hear in my entire life, a 3D horror typer.
3D horror?
Yeah.
It sounds right up my alley, but
and
typer?
It's you got a guy, and you when you type it in, you type to attack, and you break down doors, and it looked like zombies.
What is that one called?
That one's called Blood Typers.
That's crazy. I'm gonna have to look into that one. That sounds wild.
I'm glad you're ready to look at it, because I actually have a link for a YouTube video that shows all 3 of those.
Okay, awesome.
So I was pretty excited to see that and kind of watch those earlier today. One takeoff I want to give away as we come to the end with this is, it was mentioned to me, and it's something that I'm taking to heart, so I'm going to mention it to you if this is something you're even interested in learning. But while learning to type accurately, one thing that's important to remember is focus on accuracy and correct typing. And then if you can do that, remember your home row, one step at a time. It's all muscle memory. So eventually speed will follow after that. One thing I also didn't consider when researching this, which is funny that I missed it because I'm learning to do that with my work as I type up things, using keyboard shortcuts. Part of typing efficiency is knowing when you don't have to type. Learn common shortcuts like Control C to copy, Control Z to undo, to reduce mouse clicks and keep your fingers moving. Removing fingers from the keyboard to use the mouse can slow you down a lot.
Yeah, having to come back. I noticed that a lot in. We play Star Citizen, and that has keybinds all over the place. So I'm trying to use my mouse for something, and then I have to hop back to the keyboard to do some other keybind, and then I'm hopping back to the mouse. So yeah, that should keep coming home. You can definitely waste some time doing that, and that makes sense.
Last year I made the switch from console to primary PC, so I feel like learning keyboard is just infinite possibilities for me. It's not just work life, it's not just podcast stuff, it's like you said, Star Citizens. I've never seen more crazy controls than that game. And it's like, press this, this, and this, and I'm like, and then things start happening real fast, and you have to do things real fast, and I'm like, hands are in the air. I'm like, I can't pack fast enough. So I'm excited to learn this. I've wanted to learn it for a long time, but now I actually really have that motivation and a need to use it.
Yeah, I'm disappointed in myself that I didn't take it seriously when I was learning in elementary school. It's that hindsight, I'm sure us as adults by and large feel that I wish I would have taken high school more seriously, or even just not goofed off quite as much. Don't take it more seriously, but high school is easy compared to what we got to do now. So the fact that we were just goofing off and not actively trying not to learn is just
it's frustrating.
Yeah, why did I do this to myself? I'm only hurting me. That teacher still got paid whether or not I was paying attention, so I didn't do anything to them. But yeah, especially typing. I wish I would have taken that just a little bit more seriously. I feel like I could have gotten a lot farther than I am right now.
I love the phrase hindsight's 20/20 because when I stop to think about it, you would think it's my middle name.
Yeah. It's crazy just what growing up affords you and allows you to see. And that's every time, I'm sure I'll say it to my kids, enjoy this time, and I want to be 18. So it's just, you never know until you know, and then it's too late. So, but with that, I think we will come to a close on this episode, unless you have anything else for us.
I think that about wraps it up for me.
Awesome. I want to thank you guys again for listening, making our silly little dream come true one episode at a time. I also want to remind everybody that you can send us an email at takethatdepressionpod@gmail.com with any questions, any comments. Coming up, we are going to be doing a little bit of an off episode. The way our schedule works, we have a rotating schedule, and it's based on 8 days instead of 7. So we've been recording these on our days off. That's going to encroach a time when we can't record and edit and then have a week off to then find another main topic and then record that and edit that. So we'll have to do 2 episodes back to back, so it's going to be a little bit weird. But if you guys have any questions that you want us to answer, feel free to send those to the podcast. Feel free to comment them anywhere that you're seeing the podcast. Feel free to, if you can, share with friends and family if you think they would enjoy it. Any of that. We will, on that weird episode that we do, we'll answer any questions that we have. We'll make some up. If no one sends any in, that's super fine. But we'd love to hear from you guys. We'd love to answer your questions if you have anything for us. And that doesn't have to be anything about us. If you have some weird, wonky hypothetical that you just wonder what people think, shoot it our way. We love hypotheticals.
These off episodes it's wing it.
Yep.
So we don't even know what it's going to look like yet, and that makes me very excited to see what's going to become of that.
Yes. And again, like us anywhere that you can. If you feel like we deserve it, leave a comment anywhere you can. We have our Facebook page now. We look forward to hearing from you guys. And like we always say, stay safe out there.
And don't get mugged.
If you are struggling, please, please, please reach out to someone or dial 988 to get connected with someone at the National Suicide Hotline. You do not have to go it alone.